Welcome to our conversations on artificial intelligence with thought leaders in Africa. My name is Zenzele Ndlovu. I am the head of research at Machine Learning Africa. Our aim is to demystify artificial intelligence, ensuring that AI is not just a buzzword, but that artificial intelligence is fully understood by all the participants in the economy, its benefit and consideration.
Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another one of our recordings where we speak to people in our local market here in South Africa who work in the field of artificial intelligence, machine learning and smart automation. And like we've said so many times before, we often look at or look toward Silicon Valley and other areas, but there's so many organizations and people doing incredible work in our local market. And I think for me and Zenzele, the priority is to give exposure to these organizations and to these people. So welcome to another one of our recordings. Zenzele, my colleague in crime, over to you to introduce our guest.
Thank you so much, Johan. It's always great to host these interviews with you. And Johan is the chair of the Special Interest Group on Artificial Intelligence and Robotics with the Institute of IT Professionals South Africa. And today we're very pleased to be hosting Fanie Botha. And Fanie is a highly driven and dynamic professional with a background in engineering, management science, with diverse experience in leadership, growth, and applied technology. And currently is the COO at FIRtech Holdings. Fanie, welcome to our conversations with smart technology leaders in Africa.
Thank you very much, Zenzele. Thank you, Johan. Thanks for having me this afternoon. And hi there to the listeners.
Fanie, fantastic. Always a question I love asking is I'm in a lift with you. We've got 2 minutes and I say, so what do you do for a living? What's that elevator pitch? How would you answer that?
Johan, that's an interesting question. And it's one that I think you always tailor to the specific audience. But I'm always proud to say that I'm in technology. I love saying that I'm in professional services, and I love saying that I'm in solutions. And they say that you're in those things when it's very difficult for your mom to explain to her friends what you do. So I think, we in a kind of a weird in between where it's maybe for half of people in business, very simple to say that you're in the space of AI, machine learning, robotics, that kind of thing, and you don't need any further explanation. And for the other half of people, it might take a bit of explaining and I mean, where to start. But I think the interesting thing is, Johan, you could have said 20 short years ago that I'm in computers or software, and you would have had that same polarizing division of some people completely getting what you're with and the others requiring a bit of explanation.
Yeah, so Fanie, thank you for that. It's interesting what you do there, but I wanted to get to know more about FIRtech in detail in terms of the work you do in assisting organizations to fully automate or to become fully automated enterprises. I know that you do RPA and related solutions. If you can take us through and maybe give us some of the use cases of the technology that you provide.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that question, Zenzele. I think just maybe to start, so you'll see that I proudly have my FIRtech shirt on this afternoon.
Yeah.
So just for you guys and for the listeners out there, the FIR in FIRtech stands for Fourth Industrial Revolution Technologies. So we don't sell fir trees. And my wife made the apt comment that we're good for the fifth industrial revolution as well, should it come around, but we are screwed by the sixth industrial revolution.
That's good.
So
maybe you need to change your name then.
So, I mean, this question of what do we do is a particularly interesting question. And back to Johan's question, I think we provide business solutions by using a wide range of technologies. Myself and a few of my colleagues in the organization come from long lines of kind of technology jobs. But in previous lines, we might have been more tied to a specific technology or a vendor. And so when you then get asked, what do? You open with the technology or the vendor's name and you say, whatever that technology allows me. And we use a bunch of great technologies at FIRtech, really trusted partners and vendors that we have. But ultimately, we want to put the problem, the customer, and the eventual solution at the core of it. You know, painting a wall or painting your house is not a new concept, but it's changed a lot over time. I mean, in the early 1900s, you might have used a brush from horse bristle hair, and then later you might have used a synthetic brush and then a roller. Today, maybe even a spray painter. Now, when you get a painter for a wall, you don't typically ask him, do you use a brush or a roller? You tell him, you have this wall that needs painting. And that's the kind of view that we at FIRtech wanted to take to modern business problems. I understand that's not giving you yet the use cases specifically, but that's kind of just on a high level how we like to approach problems. So if you like, I can give you a few concrete use cases, a few parts of the business that we like operating in.
I'm just thinking when you talk of these technologies assisting people to automate, obviously there's tend to be some resistance to these changes. People want to be comfortable in doing what they are used to, and when you want to disrupt their way of doing things, you are bound to face a lot of challenge. Now, how do you find the market in terms of them responding to this kind of smart technologies that you're providing? You know, and maybe in general, how do you find the market?
Okay, excellent. So let me respond that by giving you a concrete use case as well.
Yes.
So let's say that now you've got a person that's in a business and they are an admin type of person or a financial type of person that maybe are taking invoices that come in on PDF or paper or something of that nature, and they need to capture these invoices into a system, and they need to do certain checks on these invoices, et cetera, et cetera. Now, of course, there's a lot of use cases, but in this specific instance, we're talking about the use case of using maybe robotics and AI and a bit of ML to take over the part where the person would have opened a PDF or scanned a document and actually read through the fields. So we've got the technology that can read this document and understand it, and can also put it into whatever system it needs to be in, whether that's an accounting system or an ERP system. It can do additional things like do some financial checks on it, internal controls. Our friends over at the revenue service have got some 21 checks that we actually need to be doing on each and every invoice. And the reality is, when you present a person that's doing a job like that with a technology like this, I think it's quite natural to immediately have a reaction that this thing is actually competing with me. And the reality is that as much as we are the purveyors of technology solutions, we should also be really good change agents. We should be able to introduce technologies and concepts and solutions to the peoples whose lives we are affecting, and explain to them that there is not really a competitive angle here, but it's a productivity angle, it's a performance enhancing angle. And I mean, let's think about when people were still dragging plows with their bare hands through soil, and along comes a horse. And I mean, the horse rocks up there. I don't think anyone thought, this horse is trying to compete with me. I need to be protecting my job. I need to make sure that my wife still thinks I'm better looking than this beautiful stud of a horse. People immediately put their minds to work and say, this horse can be my companion. It can be both my friend, but also improve my productivity in terms of transporting me across vast tracts of land, assisting me with the implements in my field to improve my agricultural activities. And in exactly the same way, wherever we've applied technology, we've only seen increases in human performance as opposed to this perceived devastation of people being displaced and these machines almost taking over, like that amazing movie Terminator.
Bonnie, I love that metaphor of the horse as a companion rather than a competitor. And I definitely want to touch on this, if you would, this change management element of technology. But I wanted to make a comment earlier on when you said you screwed with the sixth industrial revolution, then you can call it FIRtech. So there are options, But,
don't go and register that name this afternoon, please, Johan.
and the other thing you said, I find, if you work in this field, because we use lingo and stuff, and I think half the time, most of us don't always know what it means exactly. A while back, my dad asked me, what's this artificial intelligence stuff that you're working in? I struggled a lot to explain it. Because again, if you're familiar with the lingo, it's kind of easier, patterns and machine learning. And I mean, even you mentioned ML earlier. We all know what it means, but what the heck does ML mean to somebody who doesn't work in it? So I find, and this is also a struggle I find with clients sometimes, that they are almost immediately resistant because they don't understand it. And I think as consultants and as vendors is to just take that step back and take the human being into consideration. And again, the horse metaphor, which is beautiful, because it's fundamentally a people first and then a tech and a platform conversation. So, which leads me to what I want to ask you is, when you deal with clients, do you find that there's a lot of resistance initially until they get comfortable with it? And how do you help them to get comfortable with the services that you provide using smart technology?
Excellent question. And Johan, I agree with you. In as much as we love to work with technology, without the people in these various businesses, like, we would have no place, and we need to remember that and be humbled by that. So I think in terms of your question, do we find initial resistance? We sometimes do, but you know what? Instead of trying to face that resistance with counter arguments or whatever, over time, we've kind of learned that initial resistance is an indicator that we've not done our job of educating the audience well enough. What that means is that if there's that resistance, it's actually rather a symptom of unanswered questions or unrooted fears, or just a general not clarity around what we're aiming to do, what the technology is aiming to do. And off the back of that, that typical maturity curve, I think understanding is the foundational part of that maturity curve, where you seeing that initial resistance starting to subside. But that you've hit like the peak of that maturity curve when those same people who might have had a bit of initial resistance is coming to you with ideas for automation, improvement, and they are ultimately championing that. So it's very good kind of feedback process as well to see where you are in that maturity curve.
I like what you're saying when you're mentioning the initial resistance being probably caused by that we haven't really educated the market enough to understand the importance of these technologies. Therefore, it is very imperative that we continue demystifying AI and all these technologies and democratizing this smart technology and bring everyone along, and we all get be part of the whole disruption. And thank you so much, Fanie. I think it's been a great pleasure chatting with you and learning from you about what you do and what FIRtech is doing in disrupting the industry.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Zenzele. Thank you very much, Johan. It's been an amazing experience, and thanks, listeners, for listening.
Fanie, it was lovely to have you here. I'm always so proud of South African organizations doing amazing things in this field, large or small. I often, when I speak to people globally, because they still think we live in huts and we ride our horses, back to the horse, but there are so many amazing smart technology organizations, and it makes me incredibly proud. And on that, I want to say again, thank you for your time, and I wish we had more time, and hopefully we can speak again in the future. But I wish you and your organization well. Thank you so much for joining us.